Wow, a budget airline underperforms. How surprising. So for our trip to Dublin this summer, we needed an aeroplane to go on. After comparing all the airlines, Ryanair came up the cheapest for what we wanted compared to Aer Lingus and such, because we wanted baggage in the hold. So we needed a better package than the worryingly cheap basic package, which is literally like £13 each way, which is actually really concerning. This package was pretty cool because you got priority boarding. Now I don't really care about getting on the plane first, but it's less standing up for me in lines, which is brilliant because I hate standing in lines and I get quite tired doing so. I usually stay sitting until most have gone through. Starting on the chaos of this trip. On the way to the airport, I had forgotten my yoghurt on the sofa arm, which by the way, absolutely stank when we came back. Now our flight was around 9 p.m. So we couldn't have dinner at home, therefore we were going to take snacks. So that was our first dilemma. Luckily there was a Waitrose on the way, so we stopped there and I had to eat an entire pot, as it was expensive because of Waitrose, and we didn't want to waste food. It's also really good yogurt. The second road bump was tree cutting on the road we needed to go through. Google Maps were not notified of this road closure as it was done privately through the tree cutting company. This was rather annoying as this was not an area that either me or my mother knew. So I just basically had to study the exact area on Google Maps because Google Maps were not giving an alternative because it was just like, you can go through this road. So yeah, I eventually found a little dirt road, which by the way, basically everyone who obviously lived in that village was using, because we encountered so many vehicles on that, and that was rather annoying. But eventually we got through just on the other side of the closure, and I was very proud of myself for that. Navigation Pro, you would not even know that I was in the group that got lost during orienteering and ended up coming back 2 hours late. As long as I know where I am, I'm fine. So we got to the airport to find our plane had a half-hour delay. So we checked our bags in and proceeded through security, where for the first time in 5 years, I didn't get frisked, pulled over for suspicious content in my bag, or both. Because last time, I got pulled over for both, and I almost got myself in trouble because I have a big mouth, cannot resist the weird joke. When we arrived at the boarding screen on the other side, we found out there was 15 minutes added to the delay, so we got some drinks to kill the time and messed around on our phones. We spent a lot of time there before going around shops before they all closed before 10 p.m. So after we'd gone around every single shop ever, trying literally every ridiculous sunglass we could find, and by the way, there were some ridiculous ones. I'm going to show a wonderful photo here of me in some, I think they're Chanel. I'm very fashionable, I must say, but yeah, they look ridiculous, let's be real here. So after messing around there, we got to another little board, and guess what? Our flight was delayed even more. We were all just sat with everything around us literally closed, and just sat there with the only purpose was to wait for the gate to open, because we didn't even get a gate number. We were just sat in the middle of Bristol Airport on these weird sofas that loads of people were trying to sleep on because it was quite late at this point. Eventually the gate opened and we went there to wait instead. Now, the plane finally came 2 hours late. We boarded, we were finally on our way. On our way back, the bus to the airport took seemingly forever to arrive. Actually, I say it took seemingly forever to arrive. It did arrive to Houston Station, which is a train station there, and then it just didn't come by, to actually pick us up for another 5 or 10 minutes. I'm guessing the bus driver found it more important to go have a smoke than actually pick up its passengers on time. Now, this bus, everyone needs to go to the airport all the time. It was a double-decker bus, so I mean, they were technically prepared for it. This bus was getting extremely full towards the end. You have no idea. Everyone was just in everyone's space. We luckily got seats because we got on at Houston, which is the place where it first loads up. So we were guaranteed a seat. So basically, top tip for Dublin, if you're using the public transport to get to the airport, get on at Houston Station, because there is so much more of a chance of you getting on the bus in comparison to if you go later, like nearer your hotel or something. It's totally worth it to just get to Houston, because you can't guarantee getting on the bus, because our bus driver was literally going, we can't fit any more on here. When we got to the airport, everything was seemingly on time, almost suspiciously on time. And it stayed like that for ages. After getting frisked at security because I didn't have luck twice in 1 week, our gate opened almost instantly. We went and sat on the floor as there was no more available seats. This doesn't really fit into the video, but I have to talk about this woman. We were sitting on the floor and we were sitting about a metre away from where the line would be. Now this woman seems to be bothered by this, so she gets up and stands at where the line would be. Now, to say if our plane was on time, and exactly on time, she was waiting there for an extra 30 minutes. She did not need to get up at all. No one else came up and was just like, oh, I want to stand at the front and whatever. About 15 minutes into her standing alone at the front of the line that wasn't even there, a staff member suddenly comes out with some yellow tags in her hand. She starts off with the people still sitting. Now that we have another woman in the story, let's give the initial a name. Now, what would be the perfect name? Miss I Must Be First. Miss I Must Be First, after waiting for the staff member to come round to her when doing a row of seats, which were virtually next to where she was standing, the staff member walks away to the next row of seating. Now, Miss I Must Be First gets pretty triggered by this, and you can tell that she is not happy. So she calls over her boyfriend, brother, friend, travel companion, whatever, to stand with her bag. Whilst he saves her spot, she charges up to the woman and asks for a few yellow tags. The staff member then tells her that she is going through the seated people first and will get onto the small line that was beginning to form after she finishes with the people seated. Miss I Must Be First huffs and stomps back to her friend and starts complaining. This is the end of her main saga for now, but remember her as she does make a few other appearances. After waiting 15 minutes past the boarding time, we were being let through. So my mum and I joined the very end of the line. As we are at the very back of the priority line, I decide to look at the non-priority peasants, and there she is, Miss I Must Be First, scowling at our line in jealousy. Because I'm quite the asshole, I decide to shoot her a smile to kind of rub it in. And she sees me, and you could just see the hate form in her eyes. It was absolutely hilarious. Moving on from there, we got into our seats and had the safety briefing. And we were on the runway. Everyone was bracing for the G-force, but it never came. After a minute of sitting there pretty much oblivious, I wasn't really paying attention at all, the pilot's voice comes through the speakers and announces that there is a problem with the engine and that they're going to have to get the engineers to look at the problem and fix it. We were told to stay seated as they worked out the problem. Well, we were in that plane for over an hour, and towards the end, loads of bodies. I'm pretty sure the aircon wasn't running at all because it was so stuffy. Everyone was very, very, very hot. We were eventually told that we have to move because they could not fix the current plane in time. So we got out and were escorted to the next plane, and I look up to the people who were just about to board it, and guess who was leading the pack? There it is. It's Miss I Must Be First. She sees me looking at her and she just gives me this smug look at me, and it's something out of a movie, and she just dramatically just walks in to the plane like she is God. And I decided that I'd just hate her from then on. How she got to the front of the queue is absolutely beyond me. She was sat in the middle of the plane. I know that because I passed her on the way to the toilet because we were on there for so long that I needed the toilet. She either beelined out when we were told to get out, or she pushed through the entire crowd. Either would not surprise me. She seems like the type of person to barge you in the stomach to get there first. Finally, 2 hours late, we left Dublin and we were en route back to Bristol. When we landed, I think it was so late that they didn't care to put us all through passport control, which I do not understand. If we were coming from Northern Ireland, it would make sense. We were coming from the Republic of Ireland. Everyone must have just gone home because literally no one was checking any passport. Like, we had some foreign people in front of us and they were going, oh, we don't have to get ridiculed, basically. So we basically went through immediately to baggage claim, and our suitcases came out almost immediately. On our way out, we passed Miss I Must Be First, who hadn't even had one of her suitcases back. I gave her one last smile, and I was on my way out. I think her blood was boiling, and I was so happy to actually have the last laugh, because she thought she had won against me. No. So basically, in conclusion, Ryanair's efficiency is really crap, let's be real here. Both of my planes were delayed by 2 hours. On one occasion, we were literally sitting in there for over an hour, sweltering, because the plane was getting so hot with all of the people inside of it. Will I use them again? Totally, 100%. They're so cheap. They are so cheap. It would just be silly not to. Just make sure you don't need to go somewhere as soon as your plane lands, and then you are fine to use Ryanair. I'd also quite like to add that literally the staff members are fine there. Like, there was like one instance on the way, there was like a Spanish woman, I think she was, maybe Mexican. She was going over the telecom, and it was kind of hard to hear what she was saying, because not only did she have the accent, also the telecom was really quiet in comparison to when the pilot was speaking. You really couldn't hear her at all. I don't think anyone got what she was saying unless you were sat on the front row, maybe. That was like my only gripe with the staff. Like, all of them were fine. I didn't have any problems with them. But it down to it, their efficiency of getting planes out on the runway and getting them off is just terrible. But yeah, that's basically the end of this video, so hope you liked it and whatever. Basically, goodbye.